All right. Western Hills Water District meeting of the Board of Directors, Wednesday, June 9th, 2021 at 6:02 p.m. We are reconvening from open session. Want to do a quick roll call. Chris, are you there?
Chris is here.
Linda.
Here.
Julie.
Here.
Zechariah.
Here.
And I see David Hobbs is here. And we have our Ron Dimmers, our water operations manager, with us. All right. There are no reportable actions that we're going to report out on that from closed session. So we're going to move on to approving the consent calendar. All matters listed here under shall be acted upon by a single vote of the board. There will be no individual discussion of these items unless a member of the board or the public so requests, in which event the matter shall be removed from the consent calendar and considered as a separate agenda item. So I make a motion to approve the May 2021 checks and warrants, and also the approval of the minutes from the regular meeting May 12th, 2021 and special meeting May 26th, 2021. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. All right, we're moving on to our action items. Point A, consideration and approve of resolution number 2021-09, resolution of the Western Hills Water District regarding approval of the expenditure of approximately $50,000 of Diablo Grande Community Facility District Number 1 Melrose and refinance proceeds for the payment of immediate water district expenses. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. All right, and B, this is a consideration and approval of a resolution number 2021-10. It's a resolution of the Western Hills Water District regarding approval of expenditures of approximately $61,000 of Diablo Grande Community Facility Number 1 Melrose bond refinance proceeds. This is for capital improvements. It is for pump station number 2, pump number 1, the VFD replacement, as well as an air conditioning service for pump station number 2 and any parts that need to be replaced from that service. Ron, do you want to really quick talk a little bit about that and what a VFD is for the community and how important it is, like how really important it is? You're muted, Ron. There you go. Whoop.
Yep.
There. One more time, Ron. There you go.
Okay, so a VFD, all of our lift stations have VFDs in them, and what they are is they are devices that control the speed of the pumps. It's called a variable frequency drive. So if it gets to a spot in our water treatment plant where we need more water, the VFD will speed up the motor without somebody having to be there to speed it up manually. So it automatically does it. And every lift station has one for each pump that's there. And number 2 has one that absolutely it failed. So we need to get that fixed pretty quick.
And what about the air conditioning and how does heat respond to these pumps?
The air conditioners, each lift station also has an air conditioner. And what it does is it keeps the building cool because the pumps and the VFDs generate, as we know, where we live and stuff, the heat up there is say 100 degrees outside. Inside where the VFDs and the motors are running, pumping the water up the hill is probably 130, 140 degrees. It gets toasty in there. So we have the air conditioners that help they blow directly onto the VFDs and help keep them cool. So
Cool.
It's imperative that those continue to work.
Any questions from the board regarding this? If there's any questions from the community on this, put your hand up on this specific issue. All right, then consideration and approval of resolution 2021-10 for these expenditures of $61,000 for the Diablo Grande Community Facility District 1 Melrose and bond refinance proceeds to repair or replace, excuse me, the VFD in pump station 2, pump number 1, and the air conditioning service that needs to happen and any replacement parts for that. Do I have a second?
Second.
Let's have one person do it.
Second.
All right, Chris seconded it. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, that's all ayes. Let's move on to C, and this is where we're going to talk about a presentation of the 2021 California water issues and discuss mandatory water conservation measures for the Western Hills Water District, and consideration and approval of ordinance number 2021-1, which is an ordinance of the Western Hills Water District declaring a water shortage and implementation of water conservation measures. We're going to have Chris, Ron, and myself do a presentation. I'm going to kick it off. I want to let everybody know that I think if everybody's been watching the news, you know that California is in a massive water drought situation. We get our water from the State Water Project, and that begins at Lake Oroville. And Lake Oroville, I believe, is at around 43%, I think. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they're 42% capacity. There's actually, it's been on the news where there's boats grounded up there, and some of them are actually sitting on blocks. So we have a massive water problem in California right now. And we've had two semi-declarations, I guess you would call them, from Governor Newsom. One was back in April, where he was mandating measures up in Mendocino County and Sonoma County. And then he came out with another measure in May, and Stanislaus was a part of that one. It was, I think, 41, if I'm going by memory here, 41 out of 58 communities in California. He is now having us do rationing of water, and we're supposed to be taking it really easy on water. So we're in that situation, and then we're in a very unique situation because 5% capacity is what was given to us, which 5% of our 8,000 acre feet comes to around 400 acre feet that we should be getting. I'm going to throw up a legal document for transparency purposes. Normally, we as a district do not put up legal correspondence, but I've made a decision, and the board is in agreement that we should share with you in transparency this letter. This is from, we're going to take your screens for a moment. This is from the law offices that are the litigators for KERN. As you all know, we owe about $3 million to KERN. And if we can just scroll up a little bit, basically this is from their attorney to us. This letter is in follow-up to our April 9th, 2020 and December 1st, 2020 correspondence from KERN. We presented those letters to the community a while back when we did a presentation to you all, and those are on the website that you can look at those. I'm going to just read the highlighted marks because it's the main points of the letter. It says, in light of Western Hills Water District's uncured default, $3 million plus, and it's adding by interest, the agency simply is not in a position to continue supplying water without adjustments. And then we keep going down, and it says, based upon the information we have received to date regarding the Western Hills Water District's financial condition and its continuing disputes with funding source Angels Crossing LLC, it appears to be very unlikely that the Western Hills Water District will begin to pay down its debt to the agency in the near future. So then they show us Article 5 of their rights under our contract. And it says, in the event of any default by Western Hills and the payment of any money required to be paid to the agency hereunder or in any other obligations under this agreement, the agency in its discretion may suspend delivery of water to the Western Hills during the period when Western Hills is delinquent in its payment. So then I'm going to drop down to this next line. It says the agency provided such written notice to us back in April 9th of 2020. At this time, over a year later, Western Hills Water District remains in an uncured default. We all know that that's because Angels Crossing is refusing to pay their subsidy. And according to their meeting back on April 24th, it was their business decision to do that. Nonetheless, because Western Hills Water District has represented to the agency that it is currently making good faith efforts. And I want you guys to understand this because this is going to be very important as we talk about the water rationing. Good faith efforts to generate additional funds for the purpose of paying down its debt and to the agency. The agency is willing to provide a reasonable opportunity for the Western Hills Water District to do so. Accordingly, rather than suspending water deliveries to in their entirety at this time, the agency will continue to supply us water, but at 250 acre feet per year through December 31st, 2022. So as we talked about, we have a 5% allocation, which would normally be about 400 acre feet. They're cutting us down to 250 acre feet per year for this year and next year. Just want to make that clear. This amount is based upon Western Hills Water District's representation that its annual projected residential water demand is 250 acre feet. They've looked back over our acre footage and what we normally use in a normal given year for the 588 homes up here using reasonable water measures. And obviously the golf course is not being used, so they took that into consideration. Is there anything more on this one that we need to see, Chris?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, so we can take that off.
Okay.
So this letter will be available online, but this is very important for the community to understand that we are not going to get our 400 acre feet. And we need to continue in good faith to show KERN that we are going to do everything possible to ration water. And we're, as a board, coming to the community with not only a drought issue where we're being asked to cut and do things, but we're also coming at the fact that we have now been cut to 250 acre feet. So if we're just wasting water, that's not showing KERN good faith. So I'm really begging the community basically and asking for your help. And I kind of feel in some ways kind of stupid asking for help because it seems like that's all we're doing is constantly asking for help. But it's our homes. We want to ensure water comes to us for drinking and for toilets and for the necessities. But we're going to be asking everyone to cut back usage. So as we are working with KERN, and I can tell you that we are negotiating with KERN, we're also in negotiations with Patterson. We're not going to discuss those, but we are currently working and trying to work with them. And as they said in their letter, in good faith, we have been and we're trying to. We as a community need to really band together right now. It's like a broken record. Angels Crossing is destroying our community by not paying their subsidies and by not paying what they agreed to pay when they bought this property. It's just the facts. I'm tired of sugarcoating it. These people are not paying, and it's annoying as hell. But they, we look at the golf courses, they're dead. They're not doing what they're supposed to do. They have no money, it's obvious. And so we are now as a community being affected again by their refusal to pay their obligations and what they agreed to when they purchased this property. With that said, we have to do our part as a community. We have to come together, we have to lock arms. This is not a time for us to scream at each other. Hey, stop watering. We need to come together with compassion, with community togetherness, and we need to try to work together to cut our water use. And as the presentation moves forward, Chris is going to take it and Ron is going to chime in with some graphs and things. But we want to present to you what the water this community is actually using and how we're going to run out of water if we don't do some serious change in our behavior. So we're hoping that by educating, it will help everybody really work hard on conserving. So Chris, take it from here, and Ron, chime in when you need to.
Yeah, Ron, feel free to speak up at any time. I'm actually kind of hoping you'll be talking more than me since you're the one with the information, but let me present to you guys. Ron, is it all right if I show your tables of water
Yes,
usage?
yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Let me pull that up here. Let's see here. Okay. Okay. So Ron, you can take it anytime, but I'll just point out real quick, we have a few pages here showing actual raw water usage for the district for 2019 up till present day. And
Right, so
go ahead.
Okay, so if you'll look down at the annual total, in 2019, Diablo Grande used 88,178,720 gallons of water. If you do the math, an acre foot of water is 325,826 gallons. So you would just divide that and that would give you acre feet. So is there any, I don't have the information for January there because I was not employed at the district at that time. And I could not find the information from the last chief plant operator that was there. So you can go to the next slide. So you'll see last year in 2020, we had quite a bit more water that we used. We used 101,495,835 gallons. So every year it keeps going up. I don't have an, we've checked our things. We can't find any leaks. So we're grasping at straws here. You can go ahead to the 21. So for the first 5 months of this year of 2021, we've already used 40,056,622 gallons. That comes out to approximately 122.9 acre feet of water.
Yep.
And so, and then the next slide, I added the few days of June that we had. And so right there, I figured altogether we've used about 128.9 gallons as of last Friday, or 129.8 acre feet as of last Friday. That doesn't include this week.
Right.
On average, we're using about 1.5 acre feet of water a day. We need to cut that way back. The water tank, we top it off. We try to top it off at night. When we leave on Fridays, it is topped off at 23 feet. When we come back on Monday morning, it's very low. It's down to sometimes 4 or 5 feet, and that's not good. Last night, I came in this morning, we used the Diablo Grande used 6.5 feet of water last night. That is, I had that number somewhere. I don't remember. It's a lot of water. It's about almost 250,000 gallons. So we need to do some conservation.
Absolutely. And you did some other calculations here to show that basically out of the 250 we're now allotted for this year, at the current usage rate, we're in dire straits come August.
Right.
I think that's important for people to know. If there's 81 days at the current usage rate, and that's through the summer, the highest months of the year, highest usage months of the year, I mean, that is a harbinger for end of days as far as the water is concerned, so we really have to pull back. And I just hope that, we as a community can do that.
So I'm sorry, guys, I got distracted. Did we just mention this 81 days of water left?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I just want to make sure the community understands that number right now. If we don't cut back, we have 81 days before we hit the 250 acre feet that KERN has allowed us for this year. I just want to make that abundantly clear.
Absolutely.
So this is not only drought, but this is also because of Angel's Crossings refusal to pay their bill, and we're being kind of forced into this 250 number.
Absolutely.
And that is actually an average right now of the hot days that we've had. And everybody knows in July and August, it gets scorching. So more water would be used. So there's probably going to be less days than that. That's just, I got that number off of the average right now, what is being used.
Right. And that's right here for everyone to see, acre feet per day, right here. I also took a moment to just make a graph so that we can look at this in a visual way. Let me pull that up real quick. Hopefully this is that presenting well?
Yep, looks great.
Okay. So here are the numbers, Ron, that you had. I entered them into this spreadsheet and made a little graph. And what you can see here is the blue line is 2019, the dark blue line. You can see how it peaks in July. And the red line here is 2020. You can see how that peaks, and you can see how it pretty much exceeds the blue line all year long, or at least matches it in most cases. And then the green line is 2021 thus far, and we're way above 2020, let alone 2019 in terms of usage. These light colored lines of these straight lines here, those are trend lines. And you can see how 2020 trend line exceeds the trend line for 2019. Meanwhile, the 2021 trend line is off the chart, mostly because we don't have further data to really have that plotted out correctly, but it will certainly exceed the 2020 trend line if we don't get this under control. So again, all this stuff will be available for everyone to look at on the website, and of course it'll be part of the video, but I hope this really kind of drives it home where we're at right now, because the drought situation that we've all been hearing about for months has really created this situation for us, right? We're dealing with super dry air, super hot weeks here and there, and the dryness has been, relentless since January. And, that causes everyone to have to irrigate more. That causes everything to need more water, right? And there's more evaporation occurring, which increases the rapidity of the drought situation, the nature of it, the severity of it. So again, it's a plea from not only the district, but the state.
Sorry, excuse me, Chris. We have Mark having his hand up. He might have a question for your graph.
Oh, sure, absolutely. Yeah, I'm done with my little soliloquy. There you go, Mark. What's up?
Hey, just a couple of questions. One, was there an effective date on when that 250 acre feet would go into effect, or was it on the calendar year? Was it on Western Hills fiscal year?
January through December. January through December of this year, and January to December 31st of next year.
Okay. And then I'm just curious on the usage and the chart here, because maybe I'm losing it on how long the golf course has been on, but I think we were still watering the golf course this time last year, weren't we?
Not in June, I don't think, were we?
No, no.
That's a valid point, Mark.
It just seems like if you look at this chart, this has golf course time in it.
Mm-hmm.
And our trend is so much higher than that.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't seem logical.
This is actually water that has went through the water treatment plant. The golf course did not go through the water treatment plant. This is actually water that we have treated this year and last year.
Actually,
so this doesn't have golf course water included in it at all?
No, it does not. That is actual water that has flowed through the treatment plant.
So hang on, I got to ask you a question then, Ron. I used the numbers from the raw water column, not the finished water.
Right, that is the raw water that came through in 2019. It's possibly that the meters are separated. These are the ones that actually flow through my meters at my water treatment plant. So this has nothing to do with the golf course.
Got
all.
it. Oh, okay. That's good.
Well, not really, because that still means we're using a hell of a lot of water.
Yeah, no, it just takes that variable out of the equation here.
Right. Mark, does that cause you to have more questions?
He's still muted.
We can
Oh,
unmute him.
hang on.
He might.
There you go, Mark.
No, I'm good for now. I'm sure I'll have more questions as we get to concert. I did see the water was on the grapevines the other day, so I'm not sure if that would count in this or not count in this, but.
That's a good question.
So I can, we can take a little pause here. So we had a meeting, Ron, when was that meeting that we had? Was that last week? All the weeks are blurring out to me. Was it last week?
I believe so, on Wednesday.
Wednesday of last week. So we had a meeting with the HOA, and the COA was asked to come too. They were invited. I received an email from Rhonda, and they decided not to come to that meeting. So we held the meeting without members of the COA who represent the owners, obviously the owners association. And so we had our meeting and we discussed this issue with the HOA, and we are working with the HOA and the COA to try to bring down the irrigation, but it's got to be across the board for everybody. So we're going to be talking about that tonight. But there will be cutting back on watering by the COA, the HOA, all the irrigation and stuff. It's going to be an issue. And just so you know, I noticed, well, Ron, if you want to talk about this, you've kind of been helping out a little bit with the water truck, hitting some of the plants and stuff when watering and stuff, just because we understand the situation we're in. But we're trying to help the community so things don't die. We're trying to do what we can. Maybe you can touch on that a little bit.
Well, on Wednesdays is our sample day, and so we have to flush our dead end lines. What we call dead end lines is it's not a loop system. In certain areas of Diablo Grande, it's not looped, so it's a dead end line. So that water, if there's like one house there, that water doesn't move a lot. So we go up and we flush that line out. Say take 1 or 2 loads, and instead of putting that water on the roads, we take and we're watering the medians on any trees that we can get to with our water truck. And so we're putting that water onto the landscape best we can.
That's great.
And basically that's affecting mainly the COA. So we are actually helping out the Diablo Grande Parkway median areas. Again, we want to live in a beautiful place, and the Western Hills Water District is trying to help the community in that regards. Maybe we'll get a thank you. I don't know. Not from the community, by the way.
No,
But we're helping. I know the community's thankful. I'm more, my comment was more aimed at the folks that are causing our problems.
would you like me to show the drought
Yep.
situation map?
Yes, please. Yes,
All right.
please.
So back to the drought conversation. This is a NOAA website that you can look up any county pretty much in the United States to find out what the drought scenario is there. This past April apparently was the 4th driest April in the last 127 years. So that's a bit absurd, but I think we all kind of expected that this year thus far. This map though is really telling. If you look at where we are, we're right here at where the marker is, Stanislaus County. We are now in a D3 extreme drought classification. And I won't bore you with the details here, but it's basically saying that crop yields are going to suffer. There's going to be a lot more wildfires, burn bans are implemented, and there's inadequate water effectively for almost everything that goes on in any county. And you can see there's other counties here that are even in D4 already. And it's only going to get worse, allegedly. So the projection here is, as you can see, it goes from being pretty spotty on this particular map with these colorations to a much darker, no pun intended, scenario where everything is just drying out and becoming a a big basket of burnable material. And that's pretty scary, I think, to me anyways, especially given what happened last year. We all went through that.
And Ron, just with this map showing, we have issues where we want to get water to the wildlife. We want to get water in the ponds for fire danger issues. Is that water that we're going to currently have to put into the ponds, that's going to come out of our acre footage, correct? Or am I
Yes.
wrong on that?
No, you are correct.
So our graph is not even telegraphing that specific issue.
No.
And Ron and I are working on a plan, and we'll see how that works out. I don't want to announce it yet to the community. We're still kind of working on it, but we have a possible solution for the ponds, but we're going to be working on it, and hopefully maybe in July we'll have some answers to give to the community on that. But Ron and I are working together on that.
Excellent.
But if that plan doesn't go through, then our acre footage is going to go down because we got to put water in here for CAL FIRE issues.
Yeah.
And we also need to keep the wildlife having water.
Yeah, the ponds have to stay alive, right?
Right.
Can't have an environmental disaster on top of a drought disaster here.
Correct.
So real quick, I'll just step through a few of the things we've already talked about. This is an article about the Oroville Lake and the Oroville Dam, I should say, and the reservoir up there. I had no idea, but it has this amazing capacity of 3.5 million acre feet, which is hard for me to fathom. But here they're talking about the fact that they're going to have to shut down these hydroelectric power plants because there's not enough water level in the reservoir to even power them. And furthermore, here's that 42% capacity number. And let's see, the date of this article was June 7, very recent. So, I mean, one could only imagine that number is going to shrink to 30 or 20% at some point with all the usage that's going on and it being the source of most of NorCal's water in the first place. I believe they said it's the second largest reservoir in the area. The other thing I wanted to bring up was this article here, which is more of kind of just a heads up for everyone. Everybody understands that conservation is a gradual improvement. We need it to be as quickly as possible, of course. I mean, we need it yesterday. We need it last quarter, really. But this article here, again, another link that we'll have available for you to browse or read on the website, is basically talking about how they were only able to cut back 11% in the week that they implemented their conservation measures. They're confident that they'll be able to increase that, but they're actually trying to go to a 40% reduction in Marin County right now. So that's sort of maybe kind of the future of where we need to be while this drought is ongoing, and who knows how long that's going to last, at least, through the year. And at least for us through next year with our meager 250 acre feet allocation. The other things I wanted to show you guys, and again, I got to give Matt credit because he dug up a lot of these links. And so thank you, Matt, for that, making my job a little easier. Here we have the city of Ceres implementing a 2-day irrigation schedule per week. They have the luxury of doing even odd numbering, allowing people to even odd number based on their address, water, sorry. But we don't have that luxury here. We don't have the metering and valving set up like that. The original development was never set up like that. It was set up to just water areas of the community at certain times. So let me show you one more example of that. We've got the city of Turlock doing the same thing, effective March 1 through October 31. Tuesdays and Saturdays, or Wednesdays and Sundays, still only 2 days a week, limited between 7 p.m. and 9 a.m. Makes total sense, less evaporation. So 2 days a week is kind of becoming the norm for our area, and especially the Central Valley, obviously. And it's gonna end up being that way. Let's see if I have anything else I could show you guys. I do have that drought notice, Matt. Do you want to go over that at all? I think we kind of covered it mostly, but again, more material will be presented
I think
on the website.
Yeah, I think we can just put it, I couldn't get this into the slide deck because Ron just sent me this actually today. But go ahead and put it up so people know that we got this.
Sure.
Yeah, oh, is it there?
Yeah, hang on. Coming right up. Different window. There we go.
There it is. So this one you guys can read on the website, but we just got this. But it just goes through everything we pretty much talked about. Sustained preparation and planning are critical. Closely evaluate your water supply. This is more for us as a
Right.
water district. We're having to do that, and Ron is doing that, and hence why we're having this meeting tonight on this issue. But anyway, this is going to be on the website. You guys can read through it.
Yep.
I think we've hit it pretty good, but I just wanted them to kind of see it and understand that we're not just pulling this stuff out for no reason.
Yeah, and it's not entirely driven by our allocation limit, but it's certainly coupled to that.
Right, because honestly, folks, if we were getting our 400 acre feet, we could do our conservation in a much more mellow kind of way. But we would be doing it for, partnering with the state of California and doing our part, and it wouldn't be so stressful. But when I see 81 days left before our allocation is out, it's definitely stressing me. And we because of the finances, KERN has made their decision. And so this is what we've been talking about for months now, and it's happening. And so we have to do what we can do, and we just do our part. And I believe that in good faith, as we do our part, KERN will be there for us and not turn off the spigot. Yep. But if we don't do our part, then they could turn off the spigot.
Indeed.
mean, I don't like rolling the dice on that.
No.
Not
I
when
don't think
it's
that
affecting.
would be responsible for this.
No, it's not. It's not what we want to do for our homeowners. So
Absolutely.
We all have to do our part right now, and we have to do our part. We have to do what we can, and I hope to God Angels Crossing will pay their bills.
One can hope. All right, let's get to a couple questions
Moving on.
here.
Yep.
Let me go ahead and let Mark ask his question.
Hi
There you
there.
go, Mark.
This is actually Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
A lot of these numbers I think are kind of difficult to understand when they're so large. I'm
Yeah.
wondering if you guys have an average of gallon per day that households are using, and then what you would like us to kind of be at.
I think I'll let Matt expand on this, but I think the goal right now, the immediate goal, is to check your water bill, look at your usage units. There's a number of usage units, that's 750 gallons each unit that you're paying for at $1.49 a unit. And if you can possibly reduce that by at least 25%, then that's going to be a huge help, and that's going to help extend the left for everyone. Uh-oh, dog fight. So I realize the numbers are massive. We don't have individual statistics right now to present to you based on like a per connection usage average or anything like that, unless Ron happens to know that off the top of his head.
Aren't we at 1.5? Did you say 1.5 acre feet? Wait.
That's for the total. That's in totality. But she's asking about, can you give an average of per house usage or per connection?
I do not have that information.
Yeah, that's okay.
House usage.
So the easier answer is, instead of trying to tell you an average or something like that, just check out your bill and look at that water usage line item that's on there. Yeah. And there'll be a number. It'll be like 15 or 20 or 25 units. And if there's any way you can try and pull that down for next month by 25%, by a quarter, that's going to be a huge help. And hopefully we could actually project some better numbers if that actually does happen. Right. I would like to be able to keep the community informed as to how we're doing with our water consumption and production. But
And basically, if you look at your last bill, and Ashley in our front office will be able to help you with that too. But like the way we're going to kind of do it, and we're going to get into this with the ordinance, but we're going to be looking and seeing for July, what did a home use in July of last year versus what are they using this year? Because July is kind of apples to apples. You know, if you're trying to compare to February with July, that's not going to be apples to apples.
Matt,
So we're going to be looking at last year versus this year, and then see how people are doing. And then we'll report back saying, hey, everybody's doing a great job. Or like Marin did, they said, we only reached, what was it, 8%?
11.
11
11%.
out of 40. But we're going to be giving you guys gauges, and we'll be like, hey, the community, you guys are doing great, keep it up. Or we'll be like, we're failing miserably. We really need to really do better. So we're going to be kind of taking it from that perspective. We're trying to get everybody, we're trying to be helpful, not like carrying a big stick and knocking people in the head. We don't want to do that. We're trying to, so that's kind of how we're going to be doing it. That's
Right.
what we're going to be looking at.
Matt, Chris, may I address the public, please?
Yeah, please.
Sure.
Since I'm the treasurer, I do look at the billing, and I'd like to maybe expand and answer Sarah's question in rough numbers, because I have looked at the bills on average. I can
Awesome.
say, Sarah, that in the winter months, the community on average per home uses roughly, I want to say 5,000 gallons per month. And in the warmer summer months, I've seen the average bills go up as high as 30,000 gallons per month. So if that kind of helps you understand where we're sitting at, you can tell that in the summer months, it's roughly, 5 to 6 times more than when we don't use water. And I can also state that historically speaking on the golf courses, I want to say through the months of October through March, quite often historically over the past 10 years that there was no water delivered to the golf course and the golf course remained perfectly healthy. So the primary high usage is in the summer months as expected. I just wanted to state that.
No, thank you, Mark. That's awesome. Let me just add to that again, just to reinforce that each unit of usage on your bill is 750 gallons. So if you want to figure out how many thousands of gallons you're using, you multiply that number by 750. And there you go.
748 to be exact.
Sure, 748. Very good. Right, I hope that answers your question, Sarah. I think you fell off. If you want to ask anything else, just raise your hand again. But I'm going to go ahead and ask David to unmute. Mr. Sotelo?
Thank you very much. I understand the drought situation, and that's fine, and we'll do our part here at this house. I want to go back to the financial issue that you guys were discussing earlier with Kern County. I asked this once before a while back, and I didn't get an answer. I didn't get an answer that well from y'all. I was just curious, have you all discussed our financial problems with the state of California's drinking water department? I talked to them when we first started these meetings, and they said they do have funds available. It's mostly for I don't know what the right word is, underprivileged communities, and they don't consider us really that style of community that wouldn't be able to afford the financial strain that we're going through. But they also said that they would look into anything that they could do to help us out if there was a problem. This $3 million with Kern County seems to be that type of thing. Has anyone discussed this issue with the state of California?
David, would you like to
Yes,
answer that?
sir. The State Water Resources Control Board reached out to us, and we provided some background information. Some of the conversations I had was that they didn't think that whatever programs they had available were of the sort that would assist us in this matter. I've not heard back from them, but I will actually follow up with them to see whether or not they are. But I don't suspect that the State Water Resources Control Board will be the solution to our problem.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you, David.
Thanks, David. All right, we've got DL. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
I'm just curious, is Rhonda going to be taking any questions from anybody on this? Because I see she's on here.
She's
Gonna
welcome
guess
to raise her
probably
hand.
not.
But we'll have to see. We'll have to see, DL.
Well, I guess my question is this, to Rhonda. I'm just trying to figure out why, is your company, the people you work for, are they developers or are they administrative management and general management consulting services? Because if you go on the government website, it looks like they're getting PPP loans for one employee for their company. I'm just trying to figure out why they're so well off. Why are they getting PPP loans when that was meant for people who were struggling through COVID to keep small business afloat? You know, I'm sure she won't chime in, but all this stuff is out there. You can look it up.
Fair enough.
We have no comment on that.
Quite.
No, that was pretty much all I had. I'm pretty sure she won't say a word.
All right.
All right,
Thanks,
Mr.
DL.
Is it?
Doug Rowe.
Oh, Doug Rowe, thank you.
I asked him to unmute. He's good. There you go, Doug.
Yes, okay. One suggestion I had in regards to saving water is that it has to do with the areas in which the landscaper controls your sprinkler system. And as long as I've been up here, I've noticed that when the sprinkler systems go off, eventually they flood down the street. You can hear water just, going down the gutter. And I was just wondering if you could make a suggestion to Chad about that, is see if we can redo the timers such that we do not have runoff into the street. It's kind of hard, when you asked us to cut back, 40% or whatever, and you see water running halfway down the block.
Sure.
It's pretty obvious. So if you get that message to Chad,
So
I think it would help.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. And when we met with the HOA last week, that was a discussion of topic. And I know Chad is going to be doing that and has already begun to do that. And I know on Fairway, they did a lot of work.
Yep.
And they've done a great job with some of that runoff. And they've looked and seen that some people's pipes were busted. Some of it was backyard runoff from people overwatering their backyards. So again, I think that it's a combination of a lot of things, and the HOA is definitely working with all of us. They were very cooperative. I'm on the HOA board, but for this particular meeting, I think everybody is gonna be doing their part. I know that the HOA and the CO are not, I can't speak for the COA because they didn't show up, but for the HOA, they were 100% on board with doing their part. But the big thing is everybody has to do their part. And so, if the HOA houses are cut back to the 2-day-a-week watering, but everybody else in the community that manages their own front yards and backyards are watering 3-4 times a day. We do have people that do that, by the way. They just keep on watering because they want to, look like a park in it for their yard. If they continue to do that, then it's kind of like, if we're all doing it, everybody needs to do it. And so that's kind of what we're trying to do tonight, is to help. We've already talked to the HOA and they're going to be doing their part. And Chad's going to be making sure that sprinklers aren't broken and all of that kind of stuff. They're doing their part. And I can assure you that the HOA is working tirelessly on that. But now we need the community also to do it. So yes, and this is where we all just need to keep an eye on one another. And if you see water going down and it's an HOA issue, please notify Common Interest so that Chad hears about it. Because if Chad doesn't hear about it, he may not know to fix it. So we just need to, and it's not a screaming and hollering call. It's just, hey, wanted to let you know we're seeing water runoff or we're seeing water running down the street. We all just need to work together as a family and a community, and we need to be helpful to one another. And we just need to do it nicely. I can't emphasize that enough. We don't need neighbors screaming at neighbors and having hollering matches over saving water. We just need to, remind people nicely and respectfully. And, remember, there's 49 people on this call right now. So if we have 1,500 people up here or 588 homes and we only have 49 participants, there's a lot of people not even hearing this meeting. And so we as a district are going to get out letters in the bills. We're going to be putting this ordinance forward and we're going to be reminding people. But this is where neighbors help neighbors and not yell at neighbors. We help neighbors. And
Speaking of, let's get to the ordinance.
Yeah. Well, did we have any other questions? No. Okay.
No.
Let's move on.
I just wanted to say, because I know they mentioned Chad, and I do live on Fairway, and we were having a significant problem with runoff, and we did mention it to Chad, and Chad was extremely responsive, and we had a couple people with broken pipes, and some weren't even Chad's problem, but yet he helped work with the homeowner to get somebody in to get it fixed. That this particular homeowner was extremely elderly, and he worked very hard to try and get somebody in there to get it fixed. So he is working really hard on trying to help us.
Yeah, for sure. And he's very agreeable, obviously, with the conservation measures. He had to be on board for that. And, we're just thankful, frankly. And frankly, if I may add, the center median watering, for example, down the Parkway, who's in control of that, by the way? Who's responsible for that, Matt?
COA.
Right. I don't know if y'all have noticed, but there's severe runoff and overspray happening out there in the middle of the road. You can see the rust, the iron line from the water in the road. That's recent. So there's clearly other places where improvements need to be made that are outside of our HOA water district jurisdiction. So if you do see stuff like that, it'd be good to know about it, but we don't have total control over all of that. And well, at least not yet. Why don't we get to the ordinance anyways? All right, there you go.
And you want to read through this, Chris?
No, I do not. It's very long, but I will.
We have to.
Everyone here, and you want to summarize it real quick?
No, we have to read through it.
Okay.
I mean, you don't have, no, just the points.
Okay.
So basically, you don't have to read the first paragraph, but the starting right there, the board of directors. There you go. Yep.
We'll start at the board of directors. The board of directors of the Western Hills Water District does hereby ordain as follows. Based upon present conditions, California is in a state of drought. Given the current SWP State Water Project Table A allotment and KCWA's determination that it will limit Western Hills Water District water deliveries to 250 acre feet per year through December 31, 2022, there's a significant likelihood that water demands in the district cannot be met. It's hereby determined that present conditions compromise the district's ability to supply raw water and or treated water to its customers. I think that's a really important, it's the main point of this entire meeting at this point. Based on current information, it's imperative that the district seek to reduce water usage by at least 25%. That's where that 25% number comes from, in case anybody was wondering.
And just remember, a lot of districts are doing 40%, so we're asking 25.
Due to these conditions, the following water conservation measures are hereby implemented. All meters 1 and 2 inch will be monitored and water usage tracked to ensure a 25% reduction in use.
And just to jump in there, we're going to be looking at your last bill versus the current bill for the same month to kind of, and then we'll gauge and we'll let you guys know, how many people are doing good, keep it up, whatever. We'll be doing an encouragement enforcement.
Right. Reminder enforcement.
Yes.
Water shall be confined to the customer's property and shall not be allowed to run off into adjoining properties or to the roadside ditch or gutter. Care shall be taken not to water past the point of saturation. I think that's an important point. A lot of people will water for 30 minutes or more. And, you know, if you just do some research on it, you'll find that you're really overwatering at that point. And that can actually cause problems more so than helping keep things alive. So a point of saturation, if you need to, you can buy a $10 soil moisture meter, the little green thing with the little dial that swings back and forth. It works great. You plunge it down 6 inches underneath your grass. And if it says wet or it says moderately moist, you're good. It doesn't need any more water. But if you find it's always wet, if you buy that meter and you find that it's always wet, you know that you're overwatering. All right, point C, free-flowing hoses for all uses are prohibited. Automatic shutoff devices shall be attached on any hose or filling apparatus in use. So I think that also includes manual shutoff devices, right? Such as a hose end sprayer or something like that, where you know, it's not just free-flowing as point C states.
Right, and Ron, and just so you all know that I think a couple of the folks here reported that up at the snack bar up above
of the whole 13
hole, yeah, no, yeah. There was a hose that was watering,
yes,
like on a Wednesday night. Well, that was actually our group doing, is it a backflow issue, Ron? You're muted. It's all right.
That is one of those dead end lines that I was talking about, and that's one of our sample stations up there at the snack shack. So what we do is we turn a hose on Tuesday evening, let it run till Wednesday morning. We have suspended that operation. We are no longer doing that.
So that's, again, we're trying to abide by these rules ourselves, so we will not be doing that any longer.
that's great. And I just want to shout out, I can't remember her name, but I appreciate the resident who contacted me about that, because we were all very concerned about that. Unbeknownst to us, it was an actual operational thing that we were doing. But that's good. That's good looking out. That's really good community involvement and very helpful. So thank you. Point D, leaking customer pipes or faulty sprinklers shall be repaired within 2 working days or less if warranted by the severity of the problem. I think that's pretty important. If you find that you have sprinkler heads that are broken, you know, if you hear funny noises coming from your sprinkler system, you need to go out there and take a look and make sure that everything's operating and pointed in the correct direction as well. All pools, spas, and ornamental fountains or ponds shall be equipped with a recirculation pump and shall be constructed to be leak-proof. Pool draining and refilling shall be allowed only for health, maintenance, or structural considerations. Irrigation of public and private landscaping is only permitted on Tuesdays and Thursdays and only between the hours of 12 a.m. and 8 a.m.
And Ron, I would like,
important point.
Yes, Ron, you can explain to the community why we are not doing a Saturday and Tuesdays and Thursdays, because there is an actual reason for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want to water on Saturdays or Sundays or Fridays to that fact, because it would cause, the water plant does not run in automatic. There has to be an operator there. And if we have an operator there, we are having to pay that operator overtime, which we're trying to cut back as much as we can.
And just for the community to know that our one operator that we had, his name was Michael. He left us a few weeks back and went to work in Lathrop, and we don't have an operator, or we haven't had an operator. And so the treatment plant can only work with Ron there. So if Ron has to come in on a Saturday and work, because he's the only person that can make that plant work, he's the only licensed individual, then he's working 6 days a week, which is not fair to him or his family. We now just have, and Linda will be bringing this up in her reports, but we have been able to hire another operator, and you'll be hearing about that shortly. But that person is not up to qualification mode on our system. And so right now we cannot make water on the weekends unless Ron is working 6 days a week. So that is also just not. Now, once our new operator gets up to speed and maybe things turn around and we have some finances coming in or what have you, we could set up a different schedule. Those are all possibilities in the future, but we're looking at probably 6 to 8 months from now. So, because it's going to take that long for our new operator to get up to speed on our system. So that's kind of why, that's really the only reason why it's a Tuesday, Thursday issue.
Thanks, Matt. And again, 12 a.m. to 8 a.m. So if you have an irrigation controller on your house like I do, you need to take some time to go out there and sort it out to make sure that you're watering during those times. And Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Can I just say that Tuesday at midnight is actually Monday night at midnight. So it's kind of confusing, but it's actually Tuesday morning to 8 a.m.
Got it. Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate that. So yeah, Tuesday morning watering and Thursday morning watering up till 8 a.m.
Correct.
Very good.
Thank you.
Right. Back to the list here. Point G, installation of new turf is prohibited. All new developments as well as HOA and non-HOA maintained homes must use drought-resistant landscaping moving forward. HOA maintained homes that remove turf must replace with drought-resistant landscaping. Point H, and a personal point that really hurts me, is washing cars is prohibited. Even if you're out there with the buckets like I am and a pressure washer and you're doing your best not to use a bunch of water, wasting a bunch of water washing your stupid car. Unfortunately, we just don't have the water for it. And believe me, I tried with Matt to convince him otherwise, but no, it's not right.
You're making me the bad guy here.
What's that?
I'll chime in on that.
No. Let's play this out. You came to me and begged me for this. Then I went to Angels Crossing and begged them for their money. They said no, so I'd come back and tell you no.
That's fair. What can I say? I cannot refute that, you know? So yeah, washing cars is now prohibited. There's a do-it-yourself place down in Patterson I plan to use. I've never been there. I have no idea how good it is. It'll cost you a couple dollars.
Let me know, Chris. I'm actually trying to look for that right now as we're talking about it. So.
It's not even on Google Maps. It's so small. It's right over there off of 33 and Sperry.
I thought so. Okay.
Right. Point I, no water may be used for cleaning or rinsing equipment, trailers, or boats. Kind of goes hand in hand with H. Point J, washing streets, parking lots, driveways, sidewalks, or buildings, except as necessary for health or sanitary purposes, is prohibited.
And just to be clear, a dog pooping on your sidewalk is not a sanitary issue for hosing your entire driveway down or what have you. We're talking about like if someone were to bust their head open and there's stuff all over, then, after the ambulance comes and helps the person, then we might have to hose off something. But it's not just getting out there and saying, oh, a dog peed.
Point L, flushing of sewers or fire hydrants is prohibited except in the case of emergency and for essential operations. Same idea.
And Ron, we are no longer doing that, correct?
Right.
We flush hydrants, but only on the dead ends, and that goes into a truck that waters the medians. And we have to do that. That's state ordered.
Okay.
Sure. I think I live on one of those streets. Yep. So I appreciate that. M, the wasteful and unnecessary quote unquote use of water is prohibited, including but not limited to allowing flow from an unattended hose, except cooling, heating, or similar device discharges. That makes sense. hand watering a lawn if it's also watered by other means like automatic irrigation, except for spot treatment, closing down a driveway or other impervious surface instead of using a broom to remove debris. That makes sense. Or use a blower. Number 6, and actually that's pretty much it for the rule set. This just outlines perhaps how enforcement might go on, but also is just required as an ordinance. Strict enforcement of the water conservation measures set forth herein shall occur in accordance with the Western Hills Water District Water Conservation Measures Ordinance number 2021 adopted herewith. The officers, employees, and agents of the district are hereby authorized and directed jointly and severally to execute and deliver any and all documents and agreements, and to do any and all things which they may deem necessary or advisable in order to carry out and comply with the terms of this ordinance. The ordinance shall amend Western Hills Water District's ordinance number 2014-01, adopted on February 26, 2014. Some of you may have been here when that happened. I was not, but a lot of that information is actually still posted on the Western Hills Water District website. So if you go on there, there's a tab for water conservation, and there should be a bunch of old documents effectively that still outline all of that information. This ordinance shall be published by one insertion in the Patterson Irrigator, a newspaper of general circulation printed and published in the city of Patterson, within 10 days after its passage, and shall take effect immediately in accordance with Water Code 376. The foregoing ordinance was introduced and adopted at a special meeting. Well,
we haven't done that yet, but yes,
right.
So that'll all get signed after we have our discussion. Okay, so we can clear that off the board.
Very good.
And we just want to open this up for discussion. I'd like to hear from the public first. If anybody from the public would like to ask questions regarding any of this. All right, then let's discuss it as a board.
Okay, I have a couple of questions and comments. This is Julie.
Sure.
Regarding, so first of all, I want to say that when we went through the drought before, I think everybody here, us included, we tried to do a good job of considering, shut your water off when you brush your teeth, get out of the shower, And so if I just kind of do calculations, if you have about 2.5 people per home here, and everybody's taking on an average of 20-minute shower, if we cut it in half, we can save like 30 acre feet. So just little things like that. So I know that our ordinance here has a lot of things that have to do with outside, because I, for one, don't want to look, I don't want to feel like I live in apocalyptic times when I drive into Diablo Grande. However, I do get, as a board member, we do have an issue here. My question would be though, when we're talking about the irrigation between 12 and 8 a.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays, there's really no time limit to that. And I'm kind of one, and everybody might know why, is there any way we can make that a 3-day and just have people cut their times down per, cut it down to 3 days if they're going 4 days, and make them, ask them to reduce their time about 30% for those days. In other words, we can still save overall during the week, and we can try not to go into the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday time, but just entrust that the community can do that. Because if you give it, for instance, when I go to my parents' house, that's kind of the ordinance that they had during the drought. And I'm telling you, the whole neighborhood flooded their yard at that time. So it didn't really seem to me like it was a savings.
I hear you,
So
Julie.
what do you guys think about that? I mean, I just kind of think that people can kind of take it if they can just cut their time back, maybe they can feed their landscaping a little bit, and we can still save a ton of water. Because when I calculate what the HOA has based on what they're using for acre foot per week, well, the yards, you have customs and you have the reserves, and you give those about 1.5 to 2 times the yard size, plus you have the backyard. plus you have the vineyards too. So you have to count front and backyard. So we're not even taking into account, if you compare that with about 365 homes that the HOA runs, you have about 913 extra yards that nobody's even adjusted their clocks to at this time. So I'm just kind of trying to make a point is, if everybody cut those back by 30% on their time at least, you're going to have a savings right away, not to mention showers and, you know, things like that that people could do inside of their home.
No, I love the reminder about the shower thing. I mean, I make it a point, and I always have, to be in and out in 10 minutes. You know, I don't think it's really, unless I'm like trying to relax or something ridiculous. I'm not taking a crazy long shower in the first place. And that's just carryover from back when I lived in San Jose and we went through water conservation measures. On the yard topic, and maybe Ron, you could chime in on this too, but isn't it actually, you know, the Tuesday, Thursday thing is really more of a function of a shortage of water on Mondays, right?
Right.
So I'm not quite sure what the risk would be if it was quote unquote allowed for watering to occur Monday, Wednesday, Friday, which I love, by the way, because I'm sure my grass is pretty much going to die going Tuesday, Thursday, all the way through this summer. And I'm not going to put, you know, more than 10 minutes on it, period. So, yeah, I don't know. Ron, what do you think?
I do not live up at Diablo Grande. I live down here in the Central Valley and Fireball. And here we water two times a day, 10 minutes a day, and our grass is fine.
2 times a day?
Two times a day or 2 times a week?
2 times a week, I'm sorry.
But is it Monday, Thursday?
I'm hungry. I haven't eaten in a while,
It's okay.
so I'm hungry.
It's 3 days apart though, right? Not 2 days apart.
And they do it by the addresses, like Ceres is doing and stuff.
Yeah.
So at my father-in-law's house, we can water Wednesday or Friday, but their plants run in automatic, so they don't have to have an operator there 24 hours a day. That's the difference. We do not. I've been doing this a long time, and just from experience, if you give an inch, they take a mile, and it's hard. It's going to be hard already to have people cut back, and then if you say, okay, well, we'll go ahead and let you water the third day, it's really, and wasn't the state stating that it was 2 days a week?
That's what they're encouraging us to all do.
Yes.
That's why all the cities are at 2 days right now. Granted,
There's a couple of things that you can do too, is you can not cut your lawn quite so short.
Yeah, leave your lawn long all summer.
Leave your lawn longer. Here's an example. And I know we were talking about showers, but recently we installed in our showers, and I've got 3 of them in our showers. We installed the shower heads that you, like, say you're going to shampoo your hair, you just flip a switch and the shower head actually turns off without adjusting the water. So, because I hate that, because if you turn the water off, then you have to continually adjust the water. And to me, that wastes more water. But this way, I just flip the little switch, the shower head shuts off, just like your hose in the front yard. And then when you're ready, you flip the switch and you just rinse the shampoo out. Those are easily available. I think I paid $30 for each one of them. So they're not that expensive. But there's lots of things that you can do. You just have to kind of be creative.
Yeah.
But one of the main things you need to do is leave your lawn a little longer. And people think that your lawn, when your lawn is brown, that it's drying out, and that's actually the opposite. If your lawn is turning brown, unless it's really you're just stop watering altogether, you're usually overwatering. Your lawn will actually turn blue if it needs water.
It'll go blue first. Eventually, it'll still go brown.
Yes, yes.
And that's specific to, you know, certain types of grass, but almost all of us up here have tall fescue or Kentucky bluegrass mix or something like that. And that's right. If you notice them going pale blue or pale green to pale blue before they yellow, that's the sign of underwatering. And that's when
Right.
you should apply water. Yeah, exactly. Very good point.
Right.
So I was just trying to, oh, I'm sorry, Chris.
No, I'm done. Go ahead, Julie.
I was just trying to make the point of it 2 days, you give an unlimited amount of time. I know what you're saying, Ron. You kind of give an inch, but you're kind of giving a mile on 2 days. So to me, I mean, I'm just more, you know, people independently. I think that they can. I think people will want to help out. They want to help out the community. I really do believe that, and I think people can do this on their own if we can hand things out at the gate maybe and let people know, hey, these are what we need right now. And, you know, we want to keep the community beautiful. We don't want people to lose their landscaping. They've invested a lot of money sometimes in their landscaping, and God forbid that if they lose it and then they have to have that expense. And I don't think it's fair to ask, if we think we can try to manage it with the whole community, that they're able to just set their timers for a certain number of days and limit it, as opposed to, oh, you can water the whole time between 12 and 8. And then, you know, because some people may say, well, hell, I paid a lot of money for this landscaping. I'm not going to let it die. And they're going to let it run and run. And then if you let it go dry too long, as you know, it's going to have a little runoff on its own, because it's like watering a rock if it's dry. So I was just kind of thinking that maybe, you know, maybe we can try that for a couple weeks, Ron. Maybe in this ordinance, have it where if Ron can determine the days, and just tell them limit the times, and hope that we can, you know, the community can spread the word. And we have social media, we have the gate, we can send the email, we can ask the HOA to send something. What do you think of that? Because nobody wants to live in the apocalypse like we feel like we are already.
I really don't have an explanation at this time for that.
The only thing I do want to add is that you don't want to have an ordinance that vests authority as to when you can water or not water just in someone's discretion, because it's not really enforceable at that point. And so
Right.
to the extent the board is going to move forward with an ordinance, it has to come up with something. And then, you know, you could set it as it is now and then see how things look in a month or a month and a half. And if 3 days works better, go that way, or you can do 3 days now and then do 2 later. It's up to you, but you want to make sure that whatever decisions made and the rules are, that those are clearly spelled out to the best of your ability at this point.
Thanks, Dave. And my only concern right now is the water usage this community is using right now. We have 81 days before we hit the 250. We can't forget that. We can't get into the bubble of beautification and just grass. We have to look at it in the bigger picture. And that's what, you know, I've been stressing with, working with Dave on, and looking at what other people are doing in our community or around our community, different municipalities. Everyone's doing 2 days. I understand they're a Tuesday, a Saturday or something like that. I understand that. We're in a kind of a crappy situation right now because we can't make water on the weekends. We're strapped. But everybody in California is doing 2 days. You're not finding 3 days anymore because we're in this. They're saying that this is the worst drought since 1977. That's in the state information. And so, I mean, we can't look at it in just this bubble of we want to have nice green grass. I want green grass, but unfortunately, we're in a really shitty situation. Normally, we would be getting 400 acre feet, and 3 days a week could possibly work if we had our 400 acre feet, but we don't. We are not guaranteed that because of what we've talked about. And so, once again, we're being put in a really crappy situation by individuals who are refusing to pay their bills. And so we have to, as a board, we have to make hard decisions. I mean, that's what being a board is. It's about making hard decisions and tough decisions. We have 81 days right now at the rate we're going. If we could see in the next month or two the rate turn and go the other way, which we then can project that we can maybe make it through till the end of the year, and we see massive change in behavior, who knows? We could then come back and say, hey guys, everybody's doing such a great job. Everybody's doing a wonderful thing. We're gonna add back in a third day and we're gonna make an amendment or something, and let's see how that goes. Maybe we could do that, but I think right now with the drasticness of the situation we're in, we have to stop the bleeding of the water. We have to stop that because, again, with the trajectory that we're on and 81 days left, August 28th will be the last day if we keep doing what we're doing. August 28th is the last day that we will have this 250 acre that's been allotted to us. I mean, that's just a reality that we're living within.
Yeah.
And so I'm a little worried. I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm not trying to be an ass, but it's a worry. It's a legitimate worry that I don't sleep at night with, because I need water coming to everybody's homes.
If I can make another suggestion about lawn irrigation too, one trick you can do is to take a flat, let's call it a Pyrex dish or some sort of flat container that's maybe an inch or two tall, and place it out in various areas in your yard, or use multiples where you're watering. And you want to try and shoot for a certain amount of inches of water per week. It depends on your grass, whatever type of grass you've got, but typically, maybe it's like 3/4 of an inch or an inch of water per week, simulating, a natural rainfall cycle. And that way you can kind of gauge based on your sprinkler output how much water you're applying to your yard, along with the moisture gauge I was talking about that seriously, it's like $10 or $11 on Amazon. Just to gauge where you need to be, because I know I have to go out and make regular adjustments for this sort of thing. And it also matters what the humidity level is. So if it's really, really bone dry, 10% humidity for a week, your yard is going to dry out a lot quicker. That said, I liked Linda's suggestion a lot more too, which is, just because it maybe looks a little blue doesn't necessarily mean it's dying. Even if it turns yellow, it's not dying. It's going a little bit dormant, and it can come back when we can apply more water. And it's not very difficult either to overseed a little bit later on, in the fall or in the spring, when things are cooler, and get fresh growth going with a little bit of nitrogen fertilizer, et cetera, et cetera. There are many ways to bring back your yard without great expense. I am one of those people who spent a lot of money to have a nice yard and a lot of landscaping up here. And I'm definitely one of those people who's going to end up suffering for this drought. And it's just the way it has to be. If I can make myself an example, it's just what we have to do. I won't be caught in the middle of August with a green yard if we're down to 1 month's water supply remaining. You know what I mean? That would just be embarrassing to me, frankly. But
let's get to Doug's question.
All right. Well, actually, Mark is first.
Oh, Mark. Or Doug.
Hang on, Doug. I got to do Mark first. Here you go, Mark.
Thank you. Just a couple comments. I think, Matt summed it up there, right? We've been through the drought before, but not with a 250 acre foot limit. And two, we've been through this. I don't know the differences between the two ordinances, but they sound like they're very similar. I was here, as many people were, during the last ordinance when we put this in place. Our grass stayed green. I don't remember any loss of lawns or shrubs. I think that statement to the community, for those who weren't here during that time, may help them understand that they're not going to lose everything. Yeah, it's not as green, but nothing, at least on the street that I lived at the time, died, and I don't remember anything else on the streets dying.
That's great.
And this is with 2 days?
Yes.
I believe that's what it was. Yeah.
It was
14
2 days when we had zero allocation in 2014.
Yep.
Excellent. Hey, thanks, Mark. That reduces some of my anxiety. All right, Doug.
You're so funny, Chris.
First of all, I support Julie's thought process. To me, if you're watering 2 days a week, people I think are going to tend to overwater, especially if it's going to be 5 days between watering. To wait 5 days to water again means to me, flood your property 5 days. To me, you either need to have the 2 days separated better, or you need to do 3 days and cut back on your cycling amount of time that it sprinkles.
Yeah, but we can't enforce that is the problem. I mean, there's no way to guarantee that people are going to water maximum 5 minutes, 3 days a week, you know?
There's no way that you're going to enforce somebody flooding their property either.
No, there's no way. I know,
Well,
but we
not
will
necess-
be able to look at usage.
But
Doesn't
yeah,
it
if they're flooding, their usage is going to go actually higher than what they are. And
That's
then they're going to
correct.
get a notification. And
That's-
if we have to do enforcement measures, the 2014 enforcement measures would be implemented.
And you can't do that with separating the 2 days?
I don't know, Ron, that's a good question
Separating
for
the 2
Ron.
days is my issue. The issue is 5 days between watering is an
No, I agree.
extreme time frame.
I understand that totally. You're making a great point. It's a point that's been rattled in our heads for weeks now. Ron, what are your thoughts on that?
What if it was Friday morning watering instead of Thursday morning? How does that feel?
What
They're trying to build the tank.
Right.
we're trying to get, so what happens is, and I know I've said this before, I come in on a Monday morning and we're down to 4 feet. It literally takes me all week long till Friday evening to get the tank back up to so it's full, so we can go Saturday and Sunday. If we do 3 days a week, we're gonna be in the same boat.
If you do it 3 days a week and everybody cuts back on the time they water their yard, you should have excess water.
You know what, Ron?
Right now, there's nobody that's conserving on water.
Well,
Yeah, I was gonna say this weekend, Ron, like I said, the number of yards, if you're just counting front yard as 1 yard, backyard is the other, okay?
Yes.
I'm telling you, you have 3 times the yards over the HOA. And you know, I'm calculating this because Chad's doing it, so I can see what it is. And what I'm saying is nobody was told to conserve. So I don't know that the weekends would be as bad as you think if we tell everybody in those other 900 yards, including front and backyard, to cut back on the weekend or shut their water off on their yards for Saturday and Sunday. And I think that's going to make a substantial difference if we could try that over the weekend, you know what I mean? To kind of get, so I think there's a lot to be played with that would help you, Ron.
Yeah, but before we put all our properties in a disaster zone, why don't we try something first on a temporary basis for I don't know, what would you need, a month?
Well, the problem is we're running out of water. We have 81 days. So if people don't do it for the month that we're trying to do this in, then we're that closer to being out of water. This is a very serious issue.
That means a massive PR with the community. But to me, to shut down so that you don't water a yard for 5 days every week is a disaster in the happening.
Hey, really quick, Dave Hobbs, can you look up the 2014? Because I got so much stuff open on my computer right now. I don't want to mess with it. Can you find out what the 2 days watering was during the 2014 drought, just out of curiosity? Because as Mr. Swisher put so eloquently, you know, we lived through it, and
we
nobody
lived
lost.
through it, and it was 3 and 4 days. You know, it wasn't 5 days, because I would have complained back then.
No. I want to know what the resolution was, the ordinance of 2014. If Dave could pull that up.
Okay, I'll get off the line. I gave my input.
Thanks, Doug. And it's a great input.
Yeah, it was Tuesdays and Saturdays for odd number and Wednesdays and Sundays for even numbered.
Well, we didn't have odd and even back there because all of the HOA homes are not monitored that way. So how did that work?
It was probably an honor system.
I can just tell you what the ordinance was. I don't know how it was enforced.
I imagine it's voluntary. Except maybe the HOA didn't, maybe the HOA water properties were.
All right, Mark has his hand up. He may have our answer.
All right, yeah, this is
Hang
different
on.
Mark. Different
No,
Mark.
that's Mark. No, Mark Swisher has his hand up again.
Mark Tollington is first, though. He was here first.
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead,
just
Mark.
want to make just a quick point. I mean, if we're debating over drinking water versus lawn watering, I mean, if we're going to run out, we're going to run out. I'd rather have a brown lawn than having to evacuate and look for drinking water.
Good point.
Very good point.
Yep.
Thanks, Mark.
Yep. Thanks, Mark. All right, other Mark.
I like how you spell your name, Mark. Yeah, it was voluntary, but I believe the HOA properties were programmed through the rain drip or whatever that system is on the side of the houses to only water on those days for the HOA properties.
Oh,
Got it.
Okay. So
That's
they were
the
able
only
to
way
do
it could have
some-
been done. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it was still 2 days a week, and we all survived.
It was, but it was.
But Saturday was, yes, and that's
right. That's the sticking point here, and I totally understand.
And I just want everybody to understand that we are not choosing these 2 days. We're sort of forced to use these 2 days because, once again, okay, we lost our operator once again because of the concern with the money being paid. This particular operator raising a family needed to find other work that was more stable and consistent. They were fearful of what was happening up here, and we lost that operator. We have just recently hired a T2 operator. And with that operator now getting trained, we will be able to go to a Tuesday, Saturday system or what have you, because we also as a board approved, before we lost our employee, we were able to have a rotation to where people could work on a Saturday and create and make water. And it would have been fine. This would not even be an issue. But we lost that operator. And now basically Ron has to be here 6 days a week. And I don't know about you, but I don't think anybody on this call would want to give up their family to come make water and work here 6 days a week. It's just not fair. It's not. Angels Crossing has put us in this situation. We're all having to give. Ron is working his ass off right now. He's been working for the last 2 to 3 weeks, every single day, and he couldn't even take time off. If he was sick, we wouldn't have been able to even make water. And we're sort of still in that situation because the T2 we just hired is not capable of running this plant. And everybody needs to understand that. If Ron were to be in a car accident, if Ron had something bad happen to him, there would be no making water up here. This is a reality that I want the community to understand. He is the only licensed individual that can run this plant, and everything is falling on his shoulders. And we need to understand that. And the man's getting burned out. He is the only one. And we have been put in such a horrible position over the last 2 to 3 weeks regarding our employees that we've had to make some really drastic decisions. Thank God we now have somebody hired and they're getting trained, but that training still could take up to 6 months. And maybe it'll go quicker. But right now, that's where we're at. And we cannot ask Ron to have him come here every single Saturday to make water because we want green lawns. I know that sounds rude, but we can't do that. You wouldn't want your employees, or you wouldn't want your employer to do that to you. So we have to be reasonable, and we have to work through this as a family and as a community and as a team. And I'm asking people to help us here. But right now, with the use of water, we have 81 days. We have to cut that. If we all cut it and everybody does great, we can keep revisiting this every month. And if everybody does a great job and we're not having to get into enforcement issues and everybody's doing great, hell, we might be able to add a day and cut back times or what have you. And then if during these 2-day stints, if we start seeing people's meters going up and off the charts because they're soaking their lawns all night long, they're going to be getting a letter. And then they might end up getting a fine because the fines of 2014 remain in place. You know, I don't want to go there, but maybe we'll have to. We have to save water. That's my, ask my family. I've been stressed for a week knowing that we were going to be at this meeting tonight. It's a horrible thing. And we have to make tough decisions as a board. We just do. That's what leaders do. Leadership makes tough decisions. We're running out of water. We have a developer. Well, they're not a developer. We have a group of people who technically own this land and they're not paying their bills. And now we're in this situation. They have a dead golf course. Now we're looking at us making some very drastic decisions on our lawns. And Mark Tolentin, if I'm saying your name right, sorry if I'm butchering it, please forgive me. He made a great point. Drinking water, life over grass. It is what it is, guys. We've been put in this horrible situation. We just are. And I don't know. We have to make a vote. The board has to decide whether this is what we're going to do. Whatever the board decides is what the board decides.
I have one follow-up question.
Yes, sir.
Just trying to think out of the box here, but is there a day of the week, and I don't mean to insult Ron or devalue his weekends, but is there a day of the week that we could not produce water and make it on Saturdays instead?
That's a good question.
And I hate that idea because I like my weekends too, Ron.
But
The plant can't open though.
And I'm just looking at logistics. I'm looking at logistics here then. So then what you would be doing is asking him to have split days off?
I wouldn't be asking him anything. I'm just saying maybe he doesn't come in on Wednesday or something and does come in on Saturday, or we open the plant on Saturday.
Wait a minute, but am I
And
wrong?
he wouldn't get 2 consecutive days off.
Right.
But forget that for a second. I could be wrong on this, but Ron, if you take a day off, let's say it's Wednesday and work Saturday, can anybody work, or everybody is going to have to take that day off?
Everybody has to take that day off.
Right. It would be effectively the plant closed on whatever day it would be.
Yes. So
Is that even a viable option before we
Wait,
even discuss the details?
Right, but now you're not just asking Ron to only have a split day off. You're asking every other employee to have a split day off.
That's correct.
Okay.
I'm saying, how realistic is something like that? I don't know. I don't think it is, but it's maybe something other people are thinking about as well. So I thought I'd bring it up.
And
so the morale is not good as it is.
Yeah.
What that might not go over.
Might not go over well. I know.
Yeah, I think you'd have every one of them quitting. You really would.
And then we have no water.
Right.
Fair enough. Dead on arrival. That one.
Well, it's a great thought.
That's
It's
right.
innovative, but I just think it's a tall order for the employees.
Yeah.
Under our circumstance and where our employees are feeling a little jittery right now because of everything that's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
We're talking to them daily.
Fair enough.
Good. Okay.
All right.
Go
go ahead,
ahead,
Julie. Sorry. No, go ahead, Julie.
That's all I was saying. That's kind of my point, is because we haven't even tried, and I'm just trying to make a point. And of course, we want water to drink, and we want water in our homes before that. But there's another side of the coin, and that's all I'm trying to say is that the HOA, you're paying for them to maintain the yard. We don't want to get into a big expense for them having to replace stuff. And people in their own yards don't want to have to do that. I realize, but we don't have a lot of water, but we do have water. And if people are conserving in their house, and we can go to these yards, which I calculate if they're about the same size of the front yards they're doing, you're about 900 yards that have not shut their water off on the weekend so that this can help Ron. So what I'm saying is, if we make sure that everybody has their front and backyards shut off on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, could we then do a time limit so people at least have maybe 3 days, even if it's 3 days in a row? And and just trust the community. I mean, I tend to think that, like I said,
Right.
we don't
So
have to mandate everybody.
you're making great points, and I think all of us understand it. The other thing I want to let the community know is I spoke with Mike Oliver, Vice President of the HOA, and I just threw this out there as it's out of the box thinking. It's not something that's set in stone, but it's, hey, think about this. Maybe we as an HOA must start thinking about this. California is more drought than it is water. You know, we're not living up in the Pacific Northwest. We're down here in Droughtville. We're in a desert. And maybe it's time for us to seriously think about a out of the box thought on changing our landscaping to a more drought resistant landscaping. It's not, I'm not saying we do it. It's just something to think about. And all of us who own homes up here, you know, maybe it's time that the HOA does away with all of what we're doing right now and allow people to and put in landscaping measures that are more drought friendly. And maybe it's time for us to take over our front yards and do that. And maybe we've reached a point in California because we're living in so much drought. I'm not saying that's an answer. I'm saying maybe it's time for us to seriously look at that. And it's not a yes, it's not a no, it's a thought. And it's something that we all need to start thinking about, because when you read all this stuff from the California right now, they're saying this is going to get worse, and we're continuing. We have more drought years than we have water years. And I don't know, it's something to think about. And maybe it's time that we really visit that. And it's not that we have ugly looking front yards. It's maybe we need to have more drought friendly front yards, maybe smaller grass areas with more landscaping that is of a drought friendliness.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's just a thought.
That's what I implemented when I installed the landscaping here. You look at my yard, it's about 80% gravel and mulch, and trees with drip systems that are like 1 gallon per hour drippers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all fine as far as consumption is concerned. So it's a very interesting thought to consider that the neighborhood making a change like that going forward. But you know, that's something that obviously takes a long time.
That's long term.
Yeah.
That's long term.
Okay, that's great too. That does cost money also.
Yeah,
I agree. A lot of people can put drought, but that also costs money, and people have invested. And hey, I could say all day long, great, everybody kill your lawn, and then he has to go replace it. But I'm trying to preserve that because people have paid their HOA dues. And I think there's an easy way to preserve this if people just, you know, I think people will take into consideration, okay, let's shut our water off on the weekends. And if you're already watering, some people I can tell you are watering 5 days a week. So now they're going to just need to cut it down to, I'm advocating 3 days a week at a limited time. And everybody who's watering 3 days a week, shut your timers down to, you know, cut them down 25%. And everybody shut your water off on the weekend. And I really feel like both things can be accomplished without killing, you know, everybody's yard. That's just my opinion. That's what I think. And I think we can still help run out on the weekend by shutting it all down, because there's a lot of yards that haven't been taken into account that the HOA has been managing to shut off on the weekends. And, you know, there are some dry areas, but, you know, I think that can, I don't know, I tend to trust people.
All right, so we have Mark Tollin-10 with his hand up. Let's go to him for another question, comment.
Hi there, this is actually Sarah again.
Hi, Sarah.
So I think the biggest thing that we're forgetting here in all of this conversation is that it's not only a drought, but also we now have this added restriction on our water. So yes, if it was just a drought, we could have the conversation about trusting people, but I'm getting very scared about this 81 days left. And so at the end of the day, I want to remind those that are concerned about their lawns, because yes, it costs a lot of money. There are alternatives. Go out and get water on your own from Costco, even. You know, there's alternatives, but until we figure out the next 81 days And beyond that, the lawns are the least of importance here, because what are we going to do when we literally run out of shower water, toilet water, drinking water, all of the above, where yes, it's going to be very unfortunate to have a lawn potentially die, but we don't have much time left. And with a drought on top of that, let's keep that in mind.
Thanks, Sarah.
Very eloquent.
You just summed up my mind for the last week and the absolute stress I've been under going back and forth on this issue. You summed it up very well. Thank you.
Likewise.
Okay.
I'd just like to add to that with Sarah. I do understand that and I appreciate it and I see where she's coming from. My point is that we haven't conserved at all yet. And that's where they're getting the 81 days. And so I'm not an advocate of terrifying the community, but everybody I think already gets the point and is doing they're going to do their part. So that's kind of my point. I'm trying to save so that we don't have additional expenses for the community down the road. And that's my point.
I think we also need to
announce,
consider sorry.
Go
I
ahead.
think we also need to consider the fact that, as mentioned earlier, we currently only have at this point 39 people. So it's whittled down quite a bit. So everyone that's going to receive these letters may not have the full context of this entire discussion, may not understand the severity. It's been all fleshed out as we've talked here throughout this meeting. So I think that going with an initial, just seeing that it's such a dire situation, starting off with the 2 days with kind of a stronger initial, starting point is probably beneficial to get us rolling. If we see that people are in fact dialing back, and if we see that it's, I don't want to use this analogy, but it's spread like wildfire through the community, that people are beginning to take this seriously and make the necessary changes, at that point, heck yeah, let's throw in another day. If it's working, if people are taking it seriously, if everyone's joining together, let's get that other day in there. Until that point, I think the 81 days is a very pertinent date.
Yeah.
I think it's something we need to take very seriously. And I think that Mrs. Tollington, what she said was absolutely eloquent and summed the entire situation up from beginning to end. That's my personal standpoint. I don't think anybody wants to lose any days watering their lawns, but in this case, I think starting with 2 days is probably the best place to begin, unfortunately.
All right.
We did
So
also
let's
issue the 3
Go ahead,
day
Chris.
a week mandate, last meeting. And I've been adhering to that. I hope others have been adhering to that, but that's clearly not enough.
No, it's not.
If anybody's
People have
even
not been
adhering
adhering to it. Nope.
So, and I agree. I mean, if there's people out there watering 5 days a week right now, you didn't hear that message or you didn't get that message. So we need to get that out.
That needs to stop. Don has his hand up.
Hey, Don.
Hello, sir.
I think we're beating a dead horse here, to be honest. The presentation that Chris gave up front, that said it all. So I agree with what Sarah said. I agree with what Zach said. We have to conserve. And if it goes down to 2 days, it goes down to 2 days. I just don't understand why we're arguing over 1 day.
Friendly debate.
It's good. It's good. It's good. But I think I agree. This is the debate I've been having in my head. Chris has been having in his head. Zechariah's been having in his head. Linda's been having in her head. Obviously, Julie's been having in her head. We've been working on this for a week and a little bit longer than that. But yes, we have to make a vote. We have to take a vote. Yeah, we'll answer David or let Mr. Sotelo with one more comment, and then let's take a vote.
Yeah, thanks, Don.
Thank you.
Okay, not really any comment of what's going on. I support everything you all are asking the neighbors, to do. We have already talked to my wife, and we are implementing it right now. Actually, this is just for Ron. And I just want him to know that I sent him a message on his Facebook page, and just asking him to give me a call at his earliest convenience. If it's tonight, great. If not, the next chance you get. Just want to talk to him on my own outside of this meeting. Nothing with what's going on in this meeting, just stuff between myself and his district and his workers. Just
Awesome.
trying to give him, seeing if I can help him out in any way. So again,
Awesome.
support everything that's going on. You guys are doing a great job. And like I said, we're already starting our cutbacks here, and hopefully it'll make a difference.
And my wife's actually nudging me to let you know something we do with our kids. For those of you that have children and you're like, how in the world are we going to have them take quick showers? I know this sounds kind of military-ish, but we have a timer and we set the timer. And when it dings, it's time to turn the water off and get out. And it helps because, you know, they're just playing around and having a good time. But when the timer dings, it's time to get out. So that's worked for us over the years when we tried to conserve through these drought times. So just a suggestion for folks. Maybe
Cool,
that'll
that's
help.
a good one.
All right, let's
Thanks,
do
David.
the vote. Yeah, thank you, David. So I'm trying to find my place here. This is a motion to approve ordinance number 2021-1, ordinance of the Western Hills Water District declaring water shortage and implementation of the water conservation measures that we've been discussing for the last hour. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye, but we have
Zachariah
a
is an
bunch of people
aye.
muted.
So wait a minute, Zachariah is an aye.
I'm an aye.
Linda, what are you?
Aye.
Linda's an aye. Chris?
Aye.
Julie?
It's okay, Julie, you know.
I'd like to abstain. I'm in support of most of it. I don't love the whole concept of some of it.
So
I'll
are you a
abstain.
yay or a nay?
I'm an abstain.
So you're a nay through abstaining. Okay.
No,
And I,
it's not the same.
well,
It's not an A.
okay.
Well,
Julie, you're abstaining.
Typically, if
usually
you abstain, you have a reason not to vote. So
Right. You need to, you don't have, unless you're going to go with your abstaining due to conflict of interest or something of that nature, then that would work.
Well, I guess I'll vote no then because I'm not in agreement with 100% of it. That's probably my point.
That's totally fair.
Yeah, that's fair.
Understand.
yep, that's fair.
Totally.
That's totally fair. All right,
Yep.
so Julie's nay, and then I'm a yay. Motion passes, and we will get that out in the Patterson irrigator within 10 business days. All right, we're going to move on to reports by other directors, and this is where I'm going to turn it over to Linda, and you can talk about things we've actually talked about a little bit.
Okay. Matt's kind of giving away my report, but I will go there anyway. I'm hoping that you will all join me in congratulating Ron. He's been our treatment, our chief plant operator, and we have made him our water operations manager, which has given him a little bit more authority to take more of a leadership role with the staff. And I think that you can see just by this meeting that he is, and his participation here, that he has taken quite a bit of a leadership role. And just another little, the water operator who left wasn't actually a T3. And it was more Ron's suggestion that we hire a T2 because that's all we absolutely have to get somebody here. So that was a great leadership suggestion, but he has also taken another step in a leadership role by also trying to train another current staff member to get his water treatment certification as well, so that not only will we have the one we just hired, but we will also have another backup, which is huge, very, very huge. So we just want to thank him for that and congratulate him on that. And we're excited about all the new places that Ron's going to take us. And then on that second note, we did hire an on T2 that Ron is training, which also means that he needs to be here because he has to train this gentleman before he gets here. The gentleman's name is Paul, and I'm going to say it wrong, Ron, to correct me.
Cabrera.
Cabrera. Thank you. I'm sorry. I knew I was going to get it wrong. His name is Paul Cabrera. So if you see someone new running around in one of the water district trucks, wave at him and hopefully you'll make him feel welcome and he'll want to stay here for a while. I'm really excited to see where he's going. I hear that he is catching on really quickly and that he's been doing a lot of studying and grasping onto concepts really quickly. So we're excited about that. That's most of my report.
Thanks, Linda.
Is there any reports from anybody else, Chris or Zachariah?
No, nothing from me.
Nope, nothing at this time.
And anything from you, Julie? Julie?
Just taking a 30-minute shower. I'm kidding.
No, stop. That's just wrong. Okay. All righty. Then, Julie, are you there? Do you have any reports? Oh, there
Okay,
she is.
sorry. No.
That's okay.
Yes, no, I'm good. Thank you.
All right.
I
cool.
apologize.
No problem at all. All right, then we're going to move on to a public comment section. Anybody have, Doug is on the line already. Anybody else that want to have questions, just line up with your hand up and we'll open up the lines. All right, Doug?
I asked him to unmute. I'll ask again just in case it didn't get through.
Oh, Michael DeLusa.
Hold on.
Oh, nope, Doug's there again.
Hold on.
Yes, hello?
Oh, hi,
Hey,
Mike.
Yes, hi, thank you. This question might be best posed to David Hobbs. It looks like this Angels Crossing outfit took over the parcels from World in May of 2020, 13 months ago. And I'm just wondering where we stand as far as the foreclosure process goes.
At this point, all I can say is that the board has authorized the filing of the proper litigation through special counsel, and that process is underway. And once there's any additional information, we will provide an update on that.
Does that answer your question, Michael?
Well, yeah, because I mean, I know when you miss a Belarus tax payment, judicial foreclosure can commence within 150 to 180 days, which would have been somewhere back around Halloween or November, December of 2020. So,
Right. I'm not sure if you've listened to other board meetings, but there's been a lot of, I guess, drama might not be the right word, but a lot of craziness when World International controlled the board and why foreclosures never occurred back then when they should have, maybe. They had their reasoning, not going to rehash that. But since this board has taken over, we are doing everything that we can do. And through COVID and all of these other things just don't move as fast as we would like. But when the board is able to make a statement regarding your question, we will be making it. Unfortunately, we can't discuss it right now.
thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, let's try Doug again.
Doug?
Can't get him to unmute.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Maybe he doesn't know his hand's up.
He might not.
Okay.
All righty. Well, any other comments?
I would just like to let the board know that I was notified this afternoon that our state regulator, Mustafa, will be here on the 25th of June to do our state inspection. He'll go through all the paperwork and everything else, and that is on June 25th.
Great.
Hold on, I did just catch Doug unmuted.
Yeah, there he is.
There he is.
Yep.
I'm unmuted.
You did it.
Linda brought up a comment about the shower device she has that automatically turns off after a period of time. And I know other water districts have offered incentives for people to install different devices. I guess she said it was cost about $20, $30.
It was a manual switch,
Yeah.
Doug. It's
Yeah.
not automatic.
Yeah, you have to reach up and actually flip a little lever and it turns off.
It's just a valve.
Yeah.
Okay, just
Some of them are
okay, I
cheaper
thought it
than
was
that.
automatic.
It's like a manual
automatic.
timer.
Okay, I got it.
That would be
You
military.
can get them cheaper
Actually,
than
it's
that.
not
I
gonna
just got one with a fancy head on it is all.
Gotcha. Okay, I was thinking maybe there was some way we could support people using them by covering part of the cost. But if it's just manual, I don't think that's going to work.
I wish we had the finances and the money to do a lot of these things.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it just isn't so. But great idea.
Maybe we can
Okay.
get paid someday.
Yeah. Any other questions from the community? So once again, I just want to say thank you for all of your guys' help. I know the community is rallying together as a community, and I just want you to know that it's not, it doesn't fall on deaf ears. We know how much you guys are doing as a community. The board thanks you for everything that you're doing as a community. We will continue to fight vigorously for this community as a board, and we are fighting vigorously. And so as you guys and all of us, because we all live here, as we all as a community work together, let's hope we can get this thing down to where we can provide 3 days of watering on lawns. Let's really shoot for that. Let's make that a goal. Yes,
Matt,
Julie.
I'd like to address the gentleman. There was a gentleman that called in asking a question about the foreclosure, because I think a lot of people are wondering.
Yeah, sure.
Probably about that, and I kind of thought that it might be a good point to make. He was asking why. So maybe it'd be a good point to address the makeup of the board that was in effect for about since 2008 was run by the developer that became delinquent back in 2017, and it was only at such time that the residents started obtain the majority of the board, which was what, December?
Yes.
And then that we moved to hire a new firm to proceed with foreclosure. So the representatives of the delinquent developer were on the board. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it's kind of a new makeup of the board, just because, so the community kind of gets an idea that, yes, it's long overdue, but this is a new board. So I wanted to make that point.
And to clarify, it was December 2020, right?
Yeah, that we
took over.
The residents took over the board.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So which yeah, because they were still, yeah, and the previous developer that was delinquent, the representatives were still on the board even after the sale occurred. So but you know, so I just thought it was important to let the community
and just know that our first act as a residential board was to hire a new law firm for foreclosures and stop using the law firm that represented World International at one point, that was doing the foreclosures. So we have new skin in the game, new lawyers, new everything, and we've gone about this a whole different way. And when we have news to report, we will do so.
Yeah, so for us, it's been a little kind of a shorter period, but definitely, yeah. Okay.
I would call it a tireless 6 months of work. for some of you, Julie in
That's,
particular.
yes, and and so the community knows. I want to give props to Julie. You know, Julie has busted her rear on all of this stuff and has done a fantastic job. And
She's amazing.
you know, in the Avengers, it's, you know, we have a Hulk.
Yeah.
Well, this board has a Julie, and
Yeah.
let me tell you, she has worked tirelessly and aggressively, and this community owes a lot to her. And at the right time, you guys are going to find out about everything that we have been doing behind the scenes. And Julie is a big part of that. And I want to give her props and shout out and thank you for her work.
Absolutely.
It's very kind. Thank you so much.
She's put
Thank
her
you.
heart and soul into it.
Absolutely.
Everything she has.
Yep. 100%. All right. With all of that said, our next regular meeting will be Wednesday, July 14th, 2021. We may be seeing you sooner than that. We may actually be seeing you sooner than that. That's all I can say. But if not, we will see you Wednesday, July 14th, 2021, and a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, everybody, for all your hard work.
Bye,
Have a
everybody.
good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.